Deception Decode here, and we're back with another great episode. So, I wanted to decode the Charlotte incident. I'm not sure if I can say that word. You know, a lot of words get censored, unfortunately, but it was the Charlotte train incident. I believe it involved a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, and she was 3 times, I believe, in the throat by a 34-year-old. His name was DeCarlo something, but I do have his name, and I am going to do the decode. I think for these types of decodes, I think it's better if I don't use my slides, if I just kind of, go over it. I'm not sure what the algorithm is picking up for some reason. TikTok gets real funny when I do these type of videos. So I'm, gonna maybe stick with a different format. I do like to mix it up, to keep it interesting, but let's get into it. So, as I always like to, I wanted to look into the politicians. So, since this incident happened in Charlotte, we're gonna look at the mayor. Her name happens to be, Vi Lyles, I believe, and she is the mayor of Charlotte. So her birthday happens to be on September 28th. So if we take the days between the date of the incident, which occurred on August 22nd, up until Vi Lyles' birthday, which is, I believe, September 28th, making her a Virgo. You can't trust in Virgos, sorry, but it's the truth. But anyway, you have exactly 37 days. Skull and Crossbones PSYOP happens to be 307 in the reverse cipher. But something that's even more interesting is that Vi Lyles' current age happens to be 73. 73 and 37 mirror each other. So she's 73, it's 37 days between the date of the incident and her birthday. Very interesting, but we're just at the tip top of this. We're about to dive in, so let's go. So Charlotte Area Transit System happens to be 104 in the reduction cipher. Charlotte Train Ing happens to be 140 in reverse reduction. So foldable pocket blank is what he used to do it, and that happens to be 98 in reverse reduction. Skull and Crossbones PSYOP happens to be 89 in the reduction cipher. Unprovoked Attack happens to be 91 in reverse reduction. The guy just completely randomly attacked her, allegedly. And PSYOP is 91 in the ordinal. So, it's kind of crazy because we're in a time with all of this AI and just all of this dishonesty. Even on TikTok, it's so many videos that are just completely false. And on top of people just completely just lying and making stuff up, there's also AI. So you can't believe what people say. You can't believe what you see. So it's like you can't believe what you see. You can't believe what you hear. Like, it is a time to be alive. But let's keep going. So government blank control PSYOP is 114 in the reverse reduction cipher. 34-year-old happens to be 114 in the ordinal cipher. And now that's important because the suspect is 34 years old. So 34-year-old also happens to be 69 in reduction. And that's very interesting because the suspect's name, DeCarlos Brown Jr., also happens to be 69 in reduction. So it lines up perfectly with 34-year-old. So Skull and Crossbones Ritual also happens to be 344 in the reverse cipher. And 3 blank wounds to the throat happens to be 344 in the ordinal. So that's what I'm saying about these numbers. You can't make this up. What is the chances, that what happened, the 3 blank, wounds to the throat, 344, and Skull and Crossbones Ritual both line up at exactly 344. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying when Gematria, it gets, some stuff I agree, it can be random, but that's why I try to show it from different angles. Because how is it trying to tell you something in multiple angles through multiple different ways? Like, that's when I start to believe, okay, it's something to this right now. So moving on. So three blank wounds to the throat also happens to be 142 in the reverse reduction cipher. And 34-year-old man is 142 in the ordinal cipher. 34-year-old man also happens to be 79 in reduction, which lines up with 23-year-old woman, which is also 79 in the reduction cipher. So we have the suspect, a 34-year-old man, lining up with the victim, a 23-year-old woman, both being 79 in the reduction cipher. So it's also important to note that 34-year-old man also happens to be 88. We can never get away from that number in the reverse reduction cipher, because I believe a lot of these are connected in some way or another. And you know what else happens to be 80? Skull and Crossbones Ritual, 88 in reduction. So what I'm saying, when stuff lines up, it's going to line up multiple times through multiple different ways. And going back to 344, Charlotte, North Carolina also happens to be 344 in the reverse cipher. And that's once again lining up with 3 blank wounds to the throat and Skull and Crossbones Ritual. So I found it interesting to note that Charlotte also happens to be 250 in the ordinal cipher. Why is that important? We're in the year 2025. So the zeros don't have any value, so that's like 25. So we're in the year 25. So, we're not done with the year yet. So Charlotte, be on high alert. Once again, TikTok, this video is for entertainment purposes only. So Skull and Bones is 76 in the reverse reduction cipher. North Carolina happens to be 67 in the reduction cipher. And Pew Pew Control PSYOP is 67 in the reverse reduction cipher. Also, if we took so I lined up the age, the 34-year-old and the 23-year-old woman, they lined up. So now, if we look at their first names, DeCarlos happens to be 32 in reduction, and the victim, her name was Iryna. I'm not sure how do you pronounce that. She was Ukrainian. But that also happens to be 32 in the reverse reduction cipher. It's also important to note that Pew Pew Control PSYOP and North Carolina line up in 3 different ciphers. North Carolina is 67 in the reduction cipher, 203 in the reverse cipher, and 77 in the reverse reduction. And then Pew Pew Control PSYOP happens to be 230 in the ordinal cipher, 77 in reduction, and 67 in reverse reduction. So she was a Ukrainian refugee. Ukrainian refugee happens to be 84 in reduction, and we know that fake news is 84 in the ordinal cipher. Also, even if we look at the date, if we take August 22nd, 2025, that's 48 in the reduction cipher. So once again, 48, 84, you know what I mean? So we keep seeing, these synchronicities with these certain incidents that keep occurring throughout our country. Between these incidents and, we're looking over to the UK and we see the new implementation of the digital ID system, it makes you wonder, what does the US have in store for its citizens? We need to be vigilant, and, we need to be aware, and we definitely need to be paying attention. Because that date, August 22nd, 2025, also happens to be 120 in the ordinal cipher. And if you've been following my other videos, you know that 120 lines up with that country that shall not be mentioned in several different words and phrases. It's more than one. It's like at least 5 or 6 that I found. Probably more than that. So once again, this video has been for entertainment purposes only. If you like my content, make sure you follow me, like the video, and as always, share if you dare. Until next time.